The other day, a case was left on my desk. A deck with new support, a strategy that has gotten love from the ban list, a deck that has otherwise captured the public interest. Whatever the situation is, questions yearn to be answered. How is the deck played? What does the list look like? Is it playable? Ask no more. The Super Sleuth is here to crack the case. I'm Gumshu, and I'll be your Deck Detective. As an introduction, Deck Detective is the series in which every week I take a deck to build, discuss, and play a list of, talking about its strengths and weaknesses, as well as giving an idea of how to play it. Today, and for our first ever Deck Detective, we'll be looking at Odd Eyes, a deck that received support in the now second most recent selection pack, Battle Trajectory. Odd Eyes, like most Pendulum decks, is a combo-oriented Pendulum deck that uses Perform Power and Odd Eyes monsters used by or created to support the cards used by Yuya in the Arc V anime. Aims to use powerful link enablers in order to make massive pendulum summons and make a board to negate the opponent out of the game, regularly making 5 to 6 negates in his first turn board. Let's go over the deck, card by card. First up is Odd Eyes Arc Pendulum Dragon. If it's in the scale and you pop an Odd Eyes card on your field, you get to trigger it to special summon an Odd Eyes monster from your deck. If you summon Valethus and dump Butler, that's full combo already. Ash Blossom, you can discard it to counter a Maxi or one of the following actions shown here that your opponent does. Very good card, very good hand trap. Performapal Odd Eyes Valet, if it's summoned, you can dump a Performapal or Odd Eyes monster from your deck. If you can dump Butler to get a second body, or you can dump Lady Ainge to get a low scale. We have Performapal Odd Eyes Synchron. On the field, it can target a monster in your scale. You can summon it and perform a synchro summon of it, usually targeting Dissolver to summon Baron de Fleur, or in your scale, you can target a Performapal Odd Eyes monster you control, make its level 1, and have it be a tuner for easy Warlord Savage access. Next up, we have Performapal Lady Ainge. You can discard itself and a Performapal monster, except itself, to draw 2 cards. And if it's in your graveyard and you control Odd Eyes card or Performapal Gimshu, you can place it in your Pendulum Zone. Very good low scale. Performapal Pendulum Sorcerer. This card is special summoned, usually off a Pendulum Summon, but sometimes off Selene as well. You can target up to 2 cards you control, destroy them, and if you do, add Performapal monsters with different names from your deck to your hand except themselves, including the number of cards destroyed. Next up, we have Performapal Skullcravat Joker. It's the best normal summon in the deck. You can add a Performapal monster, Magician Pendulum monster, Odd Eyes monster from your deck to your hand. Very good. You can search Butler with it. If you have Lady Ainge or Gimshu, you can search the other to get the search off that. So you can itself search Butler, or if you already have Butler in rotation, you can search any of the other inboard enablers in your deck. We have Performapal Gimshu, one of the best scales you can open. If it's destroyed, you can place a Performapal Pendulum monster from your deck in your Pendulum Zone, usually Pendulum Sorcerer. If it's face up in your extra deck, you can discard a Pendulum monster to add it back to your hand, then return one of your scales back to hand. Or you can, if it's in scale and Lady Ainge is in the other scale, and you control either no monsters or only Pendulum monsters, you can search an Odd Eyes card from your deck to your hand. Very nice. Odd Eyes Persona Dragon, a low-scale Odd Eyes monster that can be searched off Revolution Dragon, and also has a passable on-field effect. Once per turn, quick effect, you can target one face-up monster on the field that was special summoned from the extra deck. It has its effects negated until the end of the turn. Very nice, and can stand in for a Pendulum Graph on the end board if you can't get access to it. Performapal Odd Eyes Butler is one of the best cards in the deck. If this card is in your hand or graveyard, you can target one Performapal or Odd Eyes monster card you control, except itself. You can special summon this card, then destroy that card. So it's the second body in most cases to make an Electromite. Very vital that you get access to this, either by opening it, dumping it off the lay, or searching it with Joker. We have Astrograph Sorcerer, Electromite's best friend. You can place it in your extra deck, and then use Electromite's back to add it back to your hand, and to summon itself and place back one of the scales you need. Search one of the scales you need that you destroyed. Very nice card. We have Performapal Odd Eyes Dissolver. This is the fusion spell of the deck. In your scale, you can fusion summon from your hand or field a dragon fusion monster. In this deck, almost always Vortex Dragon. It's also summoned with Synchron to make Baron de Fleur. Odd Eyes Revolution Dragon, you can discard it and pay 500 life points in order to search a level 8 or lower Dragon Pendulum monster. You can either search Arc Pendulum, Pendulum Graph, or Persona Dragon with this, and you can also scale it, destroy itself, and summon back a Dragon Fusion monster in your graveyard. So this can summon back a properly summoned Vortex Dragon. You can also copy this monster's on-field effect with Starving Venom to shuffle back all the cards on the field and graveyards. Odd Eyes Pendulum Graph Dragon, one of the new shiny boss monsters introduced in Battle Trajectory. This card is okay. It's a spell negate that only negates effects, meaning that it doesn't reset the activation count of spells, and it also can still negate Branded Fusion underneath Branded Lost. Very nice card. Harvey's Feather Duster, Duelist Alliance. If there's a card in the Pendulum Zone, you can add a Pendulum monster or Pendulum Spell Trap from your deck to your hand, going activate once per turn. This can search either Pendulum Sorcerer, Pendulum Graph, or Arc Pendulum. Very nice consistency card. Spiral Flame Strike, you can search a level 7 Odd Eyes monster from your deck or extra deck, either Arc Pendulum or Pendulum Graph. Or you can target a card on the field to destroy if you control an Odd Eyes card, so you can either target one of your opponent's cards that you need destroyed, or target one of your own cards to trigger an Arc Pendulum in your other scale. Sky Iris is another nice consistency card. It can add an Odd Eyes card from your deck to your hand by destroying another face-up card you control. So this can also trigger Arc Pendulum or Gintrude. Very nice. Called by the Grave and Forbidden Droplet as generic going staple cards. Odd Eyes Vortex Dragon is a fusion monster made with an Odd Eyes monster and a Pendulum monster. When it's special summoned, you can target an opponent's face-up attack position monster to return to the hand, and it also has an Omni-Negate effect where you can shuffle back a face-up extra monster and negate that effect. Very nice card. Love to play in this deck. Supreme King Dragon Starving Venom, most known for its FTK shenanigans, but also a generally good card in Pendulum decks. This allows you to copy an Electromite on field or in the graveyard in order to reuse its effect to summon another Astrograph if you need, or you can copy a Revolution Dragon in graveyard to shuffle back the opponent's cards. You can also give all your monsters Piercing. No opponent will ever know you can do that. Portal Load Savage Dragon, a generic Synchro 8 that can equip a Link monster from your graveyard to the card and gain Portal counters equal to its Link rating, and you can remove a Portal counter to negate an effect that's an Omni-Negate. Very nice card if you have to settle for Synchron in your scale. Ravenous Croco Dragon Arcthus. This card's not very good. It's a generic Synchro 9 though, which sometimes we need for certain lines. This card is Synchro 7. You can draw as many cards equal to the number of non-tuners used to Synchro Summon it, and then quick effect, you can discard 2 cards to pop a card on the field. So, not great, but sort of necessary. A generic Synchro 10 Baron de Fleur. This card's crazy, I'm sure you know it, but you can once per turn target a card on the field, destroy it, and once while face up on the field, you can Omni-Negate something. Just an incredible card that we try to make in every end board. Baguska, always need a plan B. Number 11, Big Eye. This card's not very good, but it does out Megaclops, which I really like making Numeron players cry. Odd Eyes Absolute Dragon. If you can't get access to Dissolver, you can still make this card and get Vortex Dragon out that way. You don't typically want to do this though, as it doesn't properly summon the Vortex Dragon, meaning you're locked off from summoning it back with Revolution Dragon. Next up we have Heavy Metal Foes Electromite. This card is absolutely crazy, holds the deck together like glue, and quite frankly I don't get how Pendulum decks function without this thing in the TCG. Cross Sheep. So this card is okay, but it's useful in very certain lines where you have to search Synchron after Pendulum Summon. You can use Dissolver to fuse a Synchron and another monster into Vortex Dragon to a link point this thing points to, then use the Cross Sheep effect to summon back the Synchron, and you can make Barone with that. Very nice. Have Beyond the Pendulum, one of the new cards introduced in Battle Trajectory. On Link Summon, you can pay 1200 life points to add any Pendulum monster from your deck to your hand. Very good card, the last thing you'll be making before your Pendulum Summon. Swing Queen of the Master Magicians. This can be used in niche lines, but is also good in a grindier game in order to help you make an access code talker. Very nice. Appaloosa Bow of the Goddess. It's a very vital piece of your inboard. Just usually 3 monster negates is very nice, and if you need help protecting it, Valet has a very nice scale effect to reduce an attacking opponent's monster's attack to protect this thing, so you can use more of its negates. And finally, Access Code Talker, the OTK champion. So, if you're new here, we're going to play 2 games, one in which I win that I commentate over, and one in which I lose in which I commentate over. With that, let's get into the games. In our first game, we win the coin flip, choosing to go first. We open up a great hand, and this game shows what this deck can accomplish through some interaction if you draw well. Opening Joker plus an Odd Eye scale gives us an opportunity to trigger Arc Pendulum, so we use Revolution Dragon to search it. Revolution Dragon goes through, and we search the Arc Pendulum. Next, we normal summon Skull Prevent Joker, searching Porpal Odd Eyes Butler, our second body, and our method of triggering Arc Pendulum. We scale Persona and we scale Arc Pendulum, and in response to Arc Pendulum, they activate Max C, but we have the Called by the Grave. Called by the Grave is a huge rip here. Maxi absolutely eats this deck alive, and it's important that we need to be able to find it out for it. So, now that all that's resolved, we can use the Butler on Persona, summoning the Butler, popping Persona, and triggering Arc Pendulum, which eats an Ash Blossom. Note how, if our opponent had Ash Joker's normal summon effect, we would have had to use the Called by there in order to combo, clearing the way for Maxi to resolve. This is a benefit of playing Rogue Pendulum decks. Oftentimes your opponent won't know what your cards do, neither won't understand your game plan, or won't spend the energy to read your cards, making your opponent's negates less effective. In any case, with 2 bodies on board, that still makes Electromite. Electromite effect sends Astrograph, and we pop a scale to add it back. Now, we can still search a high scale off Beyond if we need to, but I'd rather search a Pendulum Sorcerer with it, so knowing that there are more high scales in deck and low scales, I choose to search Persona over Arc Pen with Astrograph and hope that I draw a high scale with Electromite. We draw Joker, and we get rewarded. We go into Beyond, pay 1200 life points to search Pendulum Sorcerer, and it's time for what we've all been waiting for. I set the scales. Swing! Pendulum of Souls! I Pendulum summon 3 monsters. 1, 2, 3. We activate Pendulum Sorcerer's effect to pop our now useless scales and search Synchron and Dissolver before using Beyond and Pensort to make Cross Sheep in the other EMZ so we have the open arrow. Next, we activate Dissolver and Scale and use its effect to fusion summon Vortex Dragon using Synchron and Butler. We summon Vortex to the link point that the Cross Sheep points to so that we can use Cross Sheep's effect to summon back the Synchron to the field. Then we use Synchron's effect targeting the Dissolver, summoning the Dissolver, Synchro 10 into Baron LeFleur. So now we've got 2 Omni Negates and a on-field targeted extra deck monster negate through an Ash Blossom. Pretty good. We set Droplet and pass, and we'll see what our opponent has. Our opponent activates an Allure of Darkness, drawing 2 and banishing a Tsuchinoko from their hand. They normal the Seifert, then send the Seifert to search a level 4 dragon monster, almost certainly Black Dragon Collapse Serpent. We don't want this to happen, so we're going to activate Vortex Dragon, shuffling back the Persona Dragon to negate Seifert's effect. And then they activate that Grasslook Screener, a terrifying card, but we have the Barone to negate it and keep it from resolving. Barone resolves, negating that Grasslook Screener, and knowing that they have nothing else to do, our opponent concedes an OTK on the next turn, a near certainty. Now that we've seen this deck win, let's see this deck lose. This game showcases its inability to play through multiple pieces of interaction and its tendency to play heavily into blowout cards. Also, this game is great. We lose the coin flip and go second, and our opponent activates Reinforcement of the Army to search a level 4 lower warrior. Our hand is decent, and it contains an Ash to potentially stop this, but a Rhoda suggests either Phantom Knights or Sky Striker, both of which have better Ash targets. Rhoda resolves, and the opponent searches Ray, revealing that they are in fact on Striker. Our opponent links into Shizuku, sets 1, and moves to end phase, where they activate Shizuku's effect, exactly what we were saving the Ash for. All of that resolves, and turn passes to us, and for turn, we draw Performapal Gentrud. Ugh. A very nice draw. We normal Valet, and with Butler and Gentrud in hand, we dump Lady Ainge, hoping to get a free search. We scale Gentrud, activating Lady Ainge in Graveyard, only for it to be met by their Called By, which I'm sure lessens the sting of not being able to use it for my Ash last turn. It's no big deal though, we can still combo. We activate Sky Iris from hand, use it to pop Gentrud, and search Persona with a low scale. Things are looking up from here. We've got the Gentrud effect to place Pendulum Sorcerer, use Butler, popping the Pen Sword, getting the 2 bodies on board, and link the 2 Astrograph. We have dreams of using the Heavy Metal Chose Electromite, of sending Astrograph and doing Pendulum Summon shenanigans, but when they show us the Veiler, our dreams are crushed. After that resolves, we have nothing more to do, so we pass turn to our opponent. Our opponent draws for turn, and as we have no interactions to stop with anything they're doing, they link Shizuku into Hayate, and we can see what's coming from here. They're going to move to battle phase, swing directly with Hayate, use Hayate's effect to dump Engage from their deck to Graveyard. Afterwards, they're going to link Hayate into Kagari, and after Kagari's animation plays, Kagari's going to activate, targeting the Engage, and then Chaining Rose. This is initially a puzzling move. They don't really have a need to make Zeke or any specific Link 2 to get rid of Electromite or anything. But after they activate the multi-roll, I begin to see what their plan is. Multi-roll sending Rose plays around with the fact that since we played Ash the first turn, we might have it again the second. And after that, they use Engage protected by multi-roll to search Afterburners. Then they have Afterburners popping Electromite, then using the 3 spells effect to pop Sky Iris. They link Kagari into Shizuku, and they move to end phase where they use the newly fixed Shizuku Shuffle, setting the Engage from Graveyard with multi-roll. Then now that it's clear, they use Shizuku to search the second Engage from deck. It's our turn to draw, and we top deck another Performapal Gentrude. An insane draw in this scenario. We scale the Persona Dragon, we scale the Gentrude, and then we begin the Pendulum Summon immediately. An interesting quirk of Sky Striker is that Shizuku points to our field, giving us another place for us to summon our Pendulum monsters from the extra deck. This helps a lot, and we summon Pendulum Sorcerer to pop our 2 skills, Searching Synchron, and Joker. We use Joker, Gentrude, effect, place Dissolver, Joker, search Butler, then we use Dissolver, using Pensort, and Butler into Vortex Dragon. We use Vortex Dragon's effect, placing the Shizuku back into their deck, where they then have Ray effect. Then use Butler, pop itself, activate Synchron to scale Synchron, placing, trying to make Joker into a tuner. Then they use Ray, we negate with Vortex Dragon, and then they reveal they have Nibiru. The Nibiru in hand. That was the one unknown card, and that is a catastrophic blow to us. We have nothing more to do after this Nibiru hits the field, and after the chain resolves, Vortex successfully, negating Ray, not that it matters. With the multi-roll, on their side of the field, they can send Nibiru to clear their field to activate their engages. That is exactly what they're doing, and it seems almost certain that they have lethal. But this game is awesome, and I really want to see how they finish this off, so I decided to let this play on. Engage is searching Ray, that's the second engage. They draw 2 extra cards. Then they activate Hornet Drones, chaining Shark Cannon, targeting Electromite, with plans to special summon it to our field, and what a sick thing to do to us, making us view our own monsters animation. They summon the Hornet Drones after that, linking into Ahita the Fire Charmer, meaning that they're going to yet again take our monster. Just rub it in, why don't you? Heavy Metal Foe's Electromite comes out again, and then they link summon Celine, Queen of the Master Magicians. Now with the Ray known in hand, lethal damage is certain. They can Celine, add the counters, then use Celine effect to remove the counters, summon back the Veiler that used on our Electromite our first turn, link into access code Talker, and then access codes 53 after we use the effect to gain the effect attack from Celine, and then the Ray in hand that they can still normal summon, they can pop the token, swing at us for lethal damage, and completely and utterly annihilate me. Absolute godlike show from our opponent. And that's that. Honestly, the deck impressed me overall. Although it wouldn't be my first or even my 10th pick on decks to get me to Diamond 1, the new cards do much to make this a functioning Pendulum strategy. We've done our investigation, now let's get into the closing argument. Before we begin, let's go over the potential verdicts. At the lowest, we have law-abiding nursing home resident. Decks here cannot and will not hurt anyone, least of all a serious duelist. Decks here might not even make it to Platinum, let alone Diamond. A step up, we have Harmless Delinquent. A deck here is capable of holding its own in Platinum, but will struggle to put up a fight against tier decks, and will usually peter out before it reaches Diamond. After that, we have Lone Wolf. A deck in this category is overlooked by most, but those who underestimate it can find themselves crumbling to their hidden power. Capable of going on a good run into Diamond, but will struggle to get to Diamond 1 consistently. And finally, we have Public Enemy number 1. If a deck is here, it is among the most powerful, consistent, and versatile the game has to offer. Pilots of these decks should expect to be able to climb to Diamond 1 and to be in every duel they play. Now up for judgment, Odd Eyes. This deck has some positives. Its inboard is extremely oppressive. This deck consistently ends on anywhere from 3 to 6 negates, including multiple Omnis. If you're allowed to go off unimpeded, you're almost certain to win. Your choice points vary depending on your hand, particularly when faced with Ash Blossom. Sometimes ashing Joker ends your turn, sometimes it doesn't. In some hands, even imperming Electromite isn't that big of a deal. Combined with it being a deck full of cards your opponent has likely never seen before, it's hard for them to know when to hand trap you, leading to many cases of incorrect play on their part. And finally, it's a fun combo deck, with lines that aren't always the same each round. Although you're going through many benchmarks each time, like Electromite and Beyond the Pendulum, what you're searching and when you're searching it varies from game to game. The deck also has many negatives. The deck plays quite poor going second sometimes, especially against an opponent who knows what you're up to. While many decks aren't well equipped to combat Pendulum plays, other decks can keep you off your skills entirely, or even just floodgate you out of the game. Plus, the fragility of some hands mean a couple pieces of interactions can topple you. The deck produces clunky hands sometimes as well. While I wouldn't go so far as to call it bricky, you get into many hands that are less than ideal, or require risky or otherwise card-negative maneuvers to make work. And finally, the deck plays into many blowout cards. Shown in the video were multiple cases of Nibiru, but other cards kill you as well. Max C, Dark Ruler No More, Dimension Shifter, Droll and Lockbird, and Super Polymerization all do a lot of damage to you. All in all, this deck suffers from the same problems as nearly every other Pendulum deck, being all gas that can't play many going second cards without breaking horribly, or requires permutations of 2 or 3 cards to go off effectively. It wins most of the time going first, and loses much of the time going second. Still, a good streak of coin flips or drawing droplet in opportune games can absolutely push you through Platinum, so I'm giving this deck the category of Lone Wolf. Thank you for watching. If you would like more guidance on how to make this deck work from people who have played the deck more than me, I highly recommend the Odd Eyes Discord server and the Our Yu-Gi-Oh! Archetype repository, or the Odd Eyes channel and the Master Duel Meta Discord server. If you liked this video, consider liking and subscribing to me, and also comment below what you liked, what you think needs improvement, or tell me my list was garbage and that I should consider sleepwalking into traffic. Also, check me out on Twitter, where I follow other VTubers and Yu-Gi-Oh! Content, as well as post updates and my thoughts, and Twitch, where I stream Master Duel ranked climbs, other Master Duel and Yu-Gi-Oh! Related content, and other games, including our soon-to-be-running weekly playthrough of Persona 4. Thank you, and have a good day.